always, there will be links down below this video where you can actually click on the real research talking all about training to failure. In this video, we're going to go into what percentages would be ideal to train to failure. We're going to talk about programming to failure, possibly why you would ever want to do that, when to use failure as a very helpful tool, and then some of the issues with the latest research. First question, what is the repetition range that would be ideal to training to failure? Now you could basically draw a line down the middle. This area over here is going to be more of your high threshold, high output motor units, keeping in mind that there is a neurological connection that needs to be made to your muscle system. Now, whenever you can lift within ranges of between 5 and 8 repetitions to where the weight's actually moving pretty slow, and this is going to be utilizing weights likely around 80 to 85% of your 1 repetition maximum, I believe this is a great area for you to test a set, take a set to failure, but without being able to do a lot of repetition. On the other side of that, we also have benefits that come from utilizing lighter loads. So on this side, we may be able to use 65, 70, 75% of your 1 rep max, basically ensuring that you can get 12, 15, sometimes even 20 or more repetitions with a lighter load. The difference is that these ones are high output motor units, these ones are going to be more slow twitch motor units. But equally, you want to be able to work them both. Now, some of you may have utilized a training program very similar to utilizing strength training and hypertrophy training within the same block, and most people could say that that's likely where they saw the most gains. And essentially that's because you are taking things to failure within this rep range, you are taking things to failure on this rep range as well. However, you are also utilizing a lot of volume on those types of training programs, which is also why I think that the majority of people, when they first run some type of multiple time per week training program utilizing a power and hypertrophy style split, you will see much more muscular progression than you're used to seeing when you're utilizing maybe like a bro split or a single everyday split. And essentially that's because A, you're stimulating the muscle fibers better, you're stimulating the muscle fibers in a multitude of ways, and also you're doing higher volume than you were doing previously. Alright, so next up it's programming to failure. Now some of our clients within Metabolic Evolution, we actually do have strategic sets planned to failure. Now what you do, what you want to get better on is going to be very imperative when it comes to deciding what specific movement patterns you want to go to failure on. Now for me, it wouldn't make sense for me to go to failure on a barbell back squat because I don't do those anymore. It wouldn't make sense for me to, do like an AMRAP on a flat bench press unless I was just strategically trying to focus on doing a flat bench press for a lot of weight. So it's going to be specific for you. Just because you see somebody doing an AMRAP on a back squat who is also a power lifter, if you're a physique athlete, you likely may not need to do that. It may be more advantageous for you to go ham on a V squat or a hack squat or something like that. Now the really amazing part with actually programming to failure is it teaches the athlete quite a bit. First thing is going to be it allows for you to actually be able to gauge your performance. Now when we're talking about gauging performance, we're actually looking at trying to progress over time, right? So if you're somebody who happens to want to get stronger, you want to build muscle, it's likely that you're going to want your training volume to increase over the course of time. And in incorporating these AMRAP sets or these all-out max effort to failure sets, you can actually say, all right, take a look at this data that I've collected. In week 1, I did failure. I didn't do failure again until week 4 or week 8 or week 12. But every single time I took a set to failure, I was able to get 2 or 3 more repetitions. That overall is going to lead to muscular hypertrophy because you're being able to increase volume over time. A lot of speculation about this question, but it's when to train to failure. I know that a lot of people, at least I've seen, with me having been a personal trainer for years before I started nutrition coaching, I saw a lot of guys and they'd always just come into the gym and they walk right over to the bench, put 135 on the bench, start pumping it, rack it, put a little bit more on, start pumping it, and they're already going to failure. Now, where we see flaws in this is that you can go into the gym, granted you're not warming up, your muscle fibers likely are not fully stimulated the way that they should be to allow maximal recruitment of all of the motor units. but you're going to failure, you're totally exhausting all of your available resources. And now you find yourself in a position where if you go back to try to do another set, your performance is lackluster to say the least. So if you go in, you do one set of, let's say, you get 17 reps, right? When you go back to do your second set, chances are you're probably only going to get 10 to 12. And then a more lackluster performance following that. However, what I would say is that I would say go into the gym and you acclimate yourself, okay? Acclimate yourself getting up to that working weight of maybe 185 pounds by first and foremost going through a series of muscle activations, make sure everything is neurologically firing. You bar 95 pounds, 135 pounds, 155 pounds, 185 pounds. Now, depending on how you program, you can either take that first set to failure and that'll be your only set, or you can do like a buildup of sets. So basically, if you could do this 185 for 17 reps, on your first set, you do 12. Your second set, you do 12. If you want to take your third set to failure, go for it. Take that set to failure because that is going to be the final effort on that specific exercise where you are actually trying to move the needle forward in your training. So some of the benefits to training to failure, and this one is going to be, I guess, predicated on your idea of fun, but some of the benefits in regards to training to failure is it can be fun to have these big AMRAP go to failure sets in your program. Like, I don't know about you guys, but for me, like, I want to see what am I truly capable of on this specific day. Another thing is going to be improving your self-confidence. Now think about it. If you're doing 3 sets of 10, right, but you're never actually pushing yourself to failure, and then maybe somebody like myself comes along where we see the potential, we see how much weight you're using, but we actually want to push that potential because we want you to increase your confidence to see what you're truly capable of, see what you're made of. And what ends up happening is that you may only be accustomed to doing these 3 sets of 10, but then on that final set, I'm there, somebody else is there, your trainer's there, your best friend's there, your training partner's there, and we push you. And on that last set, you might get 15, 16, 17, 20 repetitions. Think about how that just blows the roof off of what you were doing before. You're like, damn, I was only doing 3 sets of 10. I just did 20. What's capable now? What's possible now? What am I capable of? That's where it starts to get really, really fun because you never truly know what you're capable of until you have found yourself in that position where you are being motivated, you are being pushed into getting those extra repetitions. Keep in mind that when you are in that environment, I would highly recommend you try to do your best to be able to maintain your composure so that nothing goes AWOL and you don't just collapse. One of my really good friends, Christopher Barricat, actually said, we were driving to do a seminar up in Panama City, and Chris said, look man, it's the concept of adapt or die. And I was like, dude, that's perfect, right? And then the other day I was in the lab over at the University of Tampa, and Rob Terry, one of my clients, one of my really good friends I've known for 10 years, he's a 2-time Mr. Natural Olympia, he said, William, your body is designed to adapt and overcome, and it will adapt and overcome. But every single time you push the envelope, it's got to be just enough to help that stimulus adapt and overcome. So what are some issues with the latest research regarding training to failure or not training to failure? Because obviously the research is pretty clear when it says if you are going to train to failure, you need more time to recover. It's going to cause more damage. Now, is that true? Yes, I believe that it is true. So if you're not training to failure, chances are you will not be as sore. You likely will have less time to recover. But if you are training to failure, you are going to need more time to recover from those workouts. Now, why do I think that, there's kind of like a line in the sand? It's like some people train to failure, some people stop short. Can you stop short and still make phenomenal progress? Yes, I think you can. However, I think you're leaving a lot left over in the tank. And what I would say there is that I think that a lot of these programs that are coming out, a lot of the research that's coming out is actually allowing people to be soft in the gym. Meaning that if you're only training to a 7 or an 8 RPE pretty much all the time, you never really know what it's like to go to failure. So you may never be able to experience the true benefits that come from going to failure and seeing what you're truly capable of. So all I would say in regards to the research and where my point of view skews is when society actually grabs a hold of that and they say, oh, well, this is great because now I don't have to train hard anymore. I don't believe that at all. I still believe you have to train very hard, but I do believe that failure is simply just a tool to utilize to gauge your intensity, to gauge your performance, and ultimately help you make a little bit more gains. Thank you guys so much for checking out this video. My name is William Grazione. If you have any questions about any of the content within this video, please go ahead and start a conversation with me down in the comment section, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.